This is the Algebra Teacher Powers to BI, and welcome to session 7 of building our check-in app. That's right, we are on our 7th session of building an app. We started from complete scratch, and look how far we have made it. So if you haven't been on the journey with us up until now, that's okay, but feel free to start at session 1 and get all the way up here to session 7. Now, if you're here just to get some ideas of how do we edit forms and what are some of the things that we can tackle with when doing that, then you're in the right spot. So where we're at in our current app is we've made an app that we can check in students, say the location that they're at, so we can make records, we can view those records, and we can delete those records. But what we have not discussed is how do you edit a record? And when you edit records, you can run into a little bit of problems. Sometimes it goes off without a hitch. Other times there could be where you have to do a little bit of extra coding to make sure that it actually works correctly. So let's take a look at that and see how we can do an edit of a form for this current app that we're working on. So what we currently have in this app is our 3 screens that allows us to check in a student. So let's do a quick preview of this app. If I click on Charlie and I click check in, we have this form that we've got some preset things that are being done for us. We see his name created by me. I'm the one logged in, our current date and time as well. If I click on cancel, it takes me back to that screen. If I want to look at a current location of a student, I click on see current location of a student. I can search. We have these sorted by the latest check-in to the oldest check-in. So now what we want to do is if we're on this screen and we go, you know what, I need to edit that. I made a mistake. The actual location is not the nurse's office. It is somewhere else. That's what we are trying to do for this one. So now let's go in and see how we can do that. So the first thing I want to do right here is I'm going to add an extra field as well because I want to see who actually did the checking in. So in order to do that, I'm just going to take one of our current text fields here. I'm going to do a copy and a paste and going to bring it down. And that looks pretty good. It's a little bit close to. So if that ever happens and you need more room in your template cell, all you do is you select the whole first row or your template cell and you just do a little bit of dragging and everything else will follow suit. So that's what I'm going to do here. So I made it just a little bit larger. And now I can bring down that copy and pasted field. And I'm going to change it from what that current is. Obviously, we don't want to see that 2 times in a row. And I want to see instead, I want to see who actually did the checking in. So as we've talked about in the past, we're going to start off with this item. It's going to say, hey, look at this row in your data source. And so that's giving me a record. Now, what do we want to return? So I do dot. What column do I want to be reported out? I want the created by column to be reported. And as we see, now I can see the people that have actually done the check-in. So Molly Browning, then Matt Peterson has done one, Cliff Dunn. But that doesn't really make sense for someone looking at this. What's this random name here? So let's give it a little bit more context. Let's put in front like the text created by. And whenever we put in hard-coded text, we have to wrap it in double quotes. So we're going to go double quotes, and I'm going to put in here created by. But the problem is we're trying to put in at this point 2 different parts. And when that happens, it's saying, hey, you've got hard-coded text plus a function. You want them together. Well, in order to bring them together to smush them, I like to call it smushing, but it's the concatenator function, which is that fancy and sign or our ampersand. So let's see if that worked out for us. Created by Molly Browning. Okay. And let me put after by maybe a colon and a space so we get a little bit of separation there. And it looks good. And notice one thing I want to say with coding and Power Apps, it is case sensitive, but I can have as many spaces in between things as I want. So that's always allowed. So you format to make it look the best on your eyes. All right, so we've got that going for us. So now here's what we need to actually do. We need to have a button on this screen that allows us to edit a record. So this button's going to have to do a few different things. First thing is it's going to have to take us to our form where we can do the edit, and that's on our 3rd screen. And the second thing is it's going to have to take that form and put it into edit mode. Because in our last video we saw that when we make new records, the form that we start with has to be in default of a new form. Meaning, hey, when we get to the screen, it's ready to take in some data to write it back. So we put the form in what's called new form mode. But when we want to edit a record, we don't want it in new form because we need it to be pre-populated with the record we are trying to edit. So we have to force Power Apps' hand and say, hey, I know we set you up to be in new form, that's the default, but now I need you to switch over into edit mode. And the great thing is it's a pretty easy code in order to get that done. So let's get that done. We're going to put in a button, an icon that gets us to that screen. It'll turn that form also into an edit mode. So the way that you actually do putting in an icon here, let me zoom out some so we can see the whole screen. The thing I see a lot of people do wrong the first time is they'll go, okay, I'm ready to put in my icon, insert icon. I'm just going to pick something random here. And notice that it only puts it there once because it was for just the screen itself. But we need the icon attached to every single record so we know which one that we want to do the edit on. So what I'm going to do is get rid of that. And since I want it to be attached to each record, we have to go into our template cell. So I've got the first row selected. The other way to do that without just clicking on the first row is you click on the gallery, you hit the pencil icon, and that puts you in your template cell. So now let's insert an icon. I'm going to go with this nice little edit icon right here. Makes that pretty simple and easy. We'll bring it on over. And we could resize it, etc., but we all know how to do that at this point. So now let's talk about what action we need. So with this icon selected, with the onSelect property, we are going to change that from select parent, which is just the default behavior, which is nothing. We're going to say, hey, what I need you to do is I need you first to navigate me. So I just tabbed it over. I need you to navigate me to the screen for make records. So screen make records, and close that parentheses off. Then once you get there, that form is currently set up to be in new mode. I need you, so I'm going to put in a new code. So that's why I'm putting in that semicolon there to add a new chain to the actions here. I need you to put that form into edit mode, which is simply the function EditForm. So we say EditForm, and that puts a form into edit mode. What form? Well, we only got one of them. So form 1, we will close that off, and let's see what we've got. So again, that's our code. Navigate to that third screen, then turn that form into edit. So I'm going to hit play. Oh, man. Didn't work. Kind of it did, though. So what has happened is we have turned that form into edit, because it's not new mode. If it was in new form mode, we would see all of our fields, and they'd be ready for us to make a new record. So it did change it into edit form mode. However, if we're in edit mode, what record are we editing? We have to tell our form what record we actually want to do the edit on. And in order to do this, you're going to access a property on the form, and this property you only touch when you want to talk about the editing of an actual record. And this property is called the item property of a form. So let's go take a look at it. So I'm going to come out of the preview. I'm going to select my entire form. So let me collapse these. So we're on screen make record. I'm going to go to my form, and the property is the item property. So this is saying when you go to edit mode, what item do you want me to edit? So the item, if we think about it, the record was in that gallery we were just on, which I believe was called gal. Let's see what comes up here. IntelliSense. There we go. Gal student location. That's where the records are located. So I want to go gal student location dot selected. So dot selected. So now look, it just did some pre-populating for me. It just took a record and brought it in. So gal student location dot selected. So wherever your record is that you're trying to edit, reference that gallery and say, look at the one I selected from that gallery. Okay, so let's go from the beginning and let's see what's happening here. So let's say this is where we would actually do a check-in. So I'm not going to click that. That makes a new record. So I want to go to see current location. I've got Skylar here. Let's edit. And it went to it. But we've got a huge problem. What's that problem? Well, the problem is the name. We were just on Skylar's record, but that's not her name. All that other information, that was the location, that was the nurse's office. Those were the comments we originally put in for her running a fever, but it's not Charlie Wheeler. If this ever happens to you, it can be very frustrating. So let's take a look, let's troubleshoot, and let's get this fixed. So how we're going to fix this is first we need to look at this code here. So why are we getting Charlie Wheeler? So let's go back. And this is something we did in our very first, when we first set this form up in a video or two ago. So I'm going to click in here in the data value and look. It says that it's the gal browse.selected name, and that's our problem. It's always going to put the name of whoever we selected last on this screen. That's the name that's always going to get populated when we go to an edit form. And that is exactly what we don't want. So let me be really specific about that. So for example, I'm going to hit the play button. Let's say I'm going to make a new record for Makarios. And then I go, you know what? I'm going to cancel that. So we see Makarios. So I'm going to go, I want to cancel that. And now I want to go and look for the location of another student. And I'm going to say, you know what? I want to edit Deja. Or no, let's go Sporthy here. So I come over here and look what we've got. We've got Makarios' name still here because that was the one I had selected the very last time. So here's what we need to do. We're going to get out of here. And instead of this being always coded to being the selected name from the gallery, we want that when we're making a new record. But we don't want that when it's the edit record. So since it is one of those scenarios of if it's this, do this action, but if it's not, then do the other, then that's the perfect scenario for when we use those if statements. So let's do that. So here's what we need to check. So I'm going to get rid of all of this. So again, I'm on the value for the name. So data card value 4 is mine. And I'm going to say if. All right, if. I need you to check what form mode I'm currently in. Is this form in new mode or is it in edit mode? So I'm going to say if form 1, if form 1's mode, so I'm going to go dot mode. So if the mode, I want to check to see if it is in edit mode. So I'm going to go look and see if the form mode is in edit mode. So this is what it's checking. It's saying, hey, look at the mode of form 1. See if it is equal, if it is currently in the edit mode. If it is in the edit mode, then I want you to bring the name of that record I'm trying to edit. And that was in our gal student location. Okay, gal student location dot selected. Pick that up. Nope, doesn't want to pick it up. Dot selected dot name. So if you're editing, I want you to bring the name over of the one I selected in that gallery of student locations. Well, if you're not in edit mode, that means you're in new mode. Then I want you to bring over the name from when I was browsing, from my first screen when I was ready to actually make a brand new record. So that was gal browse. Let's see here. There it is, gal browse students dot selected dot name. Now we'll see in just a second once we get this last one out. Look what just happened. Sporthy's names just populated in here now. So now we have Sporthy's name instead of the original from my random click of Makarios. So let's click on play here. And so instead of making up a test, I'm just going to put in, let's say, helping out with grading. And I'm going to click on submit. So helping out with grading, I click on submit. And then we will see in just a second as it's doing it spinning up here. If I go to see current location of any student, look what we've got. We have Sporthy here. Now I don't have the comments showing in here. Oh, but this says created by Matt Peterson. Maybe we want to say that. Or maybe when someone does an edit, you don't want the original owner to be actually overwritten. Maybe you want it to say something different. Maybe because the original check-in, I don't think it was me. It was Molly, I believe, or somebody else. But now that I edited it, it automatically put my name in because of how we have that form set up. We have it set up to always populate created by with the user. So if you don't want that original user to be overwritten like this, you might do another one of those if statements to where you go, if it is in edit mode, keep the original check-in person who did it. If it's not, then populate it with the logged in user. Or you might go, if you're in edit mode, change it to, instead of created by Matt Peterson, maybe go something like modified by Matt Peterson. So those are some things that you can do just by checking the mode, and then edit, do this. If it's not in edit mode, do that. So I hope that helped you out. That's how you edit a record. Fairly simple and easy, but you can run into some little issues there, things that you might not be expecting. So stick around for future videos. We're going to take this and go even further with it. I hope you enjoyed.